We live in an age of remakes and reimaginings. I feel as if every time I turn around, there is a new version of a classic TV show or movie being released. Films from the 80s suddenly have scripts again, and television shows from decades past are getting a facelift. The science fiction genre in particular is experiencing a revival with shows and movies like Star Wars and Star Trek getting reboots left, right, and center. And with Disney currently working their way through live-action remakes of every animated film they have ever done, the trend doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. And I, for one, am exhausted. Is this what we've come to imaginatively? We're faced with an industry that is so morally and creatively bankrupt that the only way to keep churning out material and generate revenue is to build it off the dead cinematic bones of past iconic films. Apparently so, because the next iconic set of films to get a do-over is Indiana Jones. Now, this isn't the first time that someone has tried to reboot the franchise, but there's a reason that no one talks about that movie. It doesn't hold a candle to the others and was the perfect definition of an attempted money grab. There is a reason that it has been pretty much forgotten. I'd like to state for the record that The Last Crusade is one of my favorite films of all time. Don't get me wrong, Raiders and Temple of Doom are great, but the chemistry and dynamics between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford was truly the standout between this film and the other two for me personally. They were hilarious and poignant, vulnerable and heroic. The Last Crusade is second to none in terms of its completeness. And at its heart, it's about a father and son reconnecting after years of being estranged, packaged into a hilarious and engaging adventure full of memorable side characters. It talks about the dangers of obsession, how desire and overreach can ruin one's life, and how prizes are never more important than the ones that you find them with. Not to mention that it's downright hysterical as well. It had a simple but poignant lesson shared between Indy and his father, and both of them learned from each other in a way that helped them understand each other far better by the end of the movie. There was a lot of love between them, but also a lot of hurt as well. And I love the fact that it was Henry that reminded Indy by the end of the film that the Holy Grail was not a prize that he should hold on to, even though he had been the one who had been chasing it his entire life. The true prize at the end of the day was, as Connery said, illumination. What exactly that means is that we should fill in the blanks, whether it was about the Grail itself or his relationship with Indy. I walk away from the movie each time I watch it feeling completely satisfied and content. The director gave us an entire film that encompassed everything possible to make it complete, and as a result, it is an icon. By contrast, we now have Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, which is probably an even dumber title than The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This film stars, of course, Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is somehow going to be the heir to Indiana Jones after all this is said and done. I can't wait for the movie starring her in a solo role and see how well that one does. Not only does this movie seem to be suffering from bipolar disorder, stubbornly clinging to past nostalgia, all the while attempting to create something new and failing miserably at it, it also, of course, dives into cringe feminism, with Bridge attempting to be the one to show Indy how adventure can be done properly. Welcome to 2023, folks, the year where every woman can be a man. Better than men. I do have to say that this movie is the only one in the franchise that is not directed by Steven Spielberg and written by George Lucas, and by God, it shows. From the get-go, this movie has been fraught with production nightmares, from Lucasfilm having to reshoot the project 3 times over. It doesn't appear to have done any good, as recent reviews are in from the Cannes Film Festival, and they are, let's just say, suboptimal. Not only does the movie bring back old and beloved characters like John Rhys Davies that it doesn't really know what to do with, but it also takes wonderful narrative risks, like making Indy into a broken, helpless old man who hides away while his aggravating and patronizing goddaughter takes over the film. If you remember another recent series of movies that did the same thing with a beloved character from a set of 80s movies, then you know where this is going. There were also other critics who declared that this series of films was better left untouched and called it a complete waste of time. It has also been called counterfeit. It has the aesthetics of a priceless treasure from its gleam to its shape, but the longer that one looks at it, the shabbier it becomes. I have to say that it's relieving to see many critics tearing apart this homage to 2023 politics, but it's also very gloomy as well, because this film is yet another reminder that our heroes are being degraded one right after the other. I would have loved for this film to receive the Top Gun Maverick treatment, bringing back a beloved character from the 80s in order to treat him with the respect and consideration that he deserves, not to dump on him or treat him as a joke. I would love for it to remind us that heroes remain heroes no matter how much time has passed or how many wrinkles they have. But I can't do that. Hollywood has shown us more than enough times in the last decade that they don't care about fans anymore. They don't care about the idea of good storytelling and how that translates to revenue. And they are so out of touch with the reality of the regular person that the idea of creativity taking a front seat to diversity and inclusion is tantamount to speaking ancient Latin to them. This movie looks woefully predictable. From Indy being a tired old man who simply wants to relax and fade into obscurity, being forced back to the forefront by an abrasive and, in my opinion, not very talented younger woman, to the way he is constantly playing catch-up to her the entire trailer as if he hasn't been adventuring his whole life. You also have the very painful writing with lines like this one.
You stole it. Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
Wrap it all up in the patented Indiana Jones music, which only seems bleak as the backdrop of all this nonsense, and you have the quintessential 2023 Hollywood film. I.e., take a beloved character to draw in the crowds, deconstruct him to his lowest point, find someone younger and usually female to come along and encourage him, show him what to do and all that, slowly reveal over the course of the film that she is better at his job than he ever was, and make him happy to realize it by the end of the movie. And there you have it, delusional Hollywood's idea of what they think the public wants. And when this film inevitably flops and loses a lot of money, as it looks primed and ready to do, they will all be left scratching their heads and wondering where they went wrong, with not a clue as to what the actual problem was. Harrison, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you were a part of this, and even though I'm sure that this is one of your favorite roles ever, I'm sorry that they clearly aren't giving you the respect that you deserve. This movie is clearly overblown, overhyped, and overfunded. Almost $300 million to be specific, and that's just for the polishing that's needed to make it watchable. At best, this film will be a safe film that has utterly no heart or soul to it like the previous films, and at worst, it will be a disjointed, over-full disaster that has too many characters, too many ideas, and too much screen time. Both options are entirely unappealing, but it's not as if the film will suddenly cease to exist, so we are left trying to decide on a lesser of two evils situation. I don't know how to make this any more clear to Hollywood and Lucasfilm in general, but maybe this movie will finally be the thing that does it for them. Lucasfilm is creatively bankrupt at this point. They have lost the collective intelligence about what it takes to make money, and so they are pulling dusty skeletons from the 80s out of their closet and sticking bits of modern ideals to them in the hopes that their project will appeal to both old fans and new viewers. I am truly at a loss as to how much longer they can keep this up before everyone on their so-called creative team is fired and the company goes completely scorched earth. Because that's the only thing that I think can save the movie-making industry at this point. Sure, you have your rare gems that will give you fans hope for the future, but it's overshadowed by the amount of movies that follow that humiliate old heroes, insult fans, and incorporate ideals that no one cares about or wants. I'm not sure what else to say at this point other than I hope and pray that this is the last one, that there will be no more franchises left to ruin by this cruel joke of a company. There is something bitterly ironic about all of this. Lucasfilm had some of the most creative people working for it and behind it back in the day, and now it has gone to the dogs. What do you guys think we can expect from Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? Will it be anything like what I've described, or do you think it will surprise us? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section and what other aspects of the movies and pop culture you want me to talk about, and let's have a conversation about it. Until next time, everyone.